Yo, my peoples, what's up? Welcome to Shelf Stories, the channel that tells tales for games, books, and life. I am your host, Jason. Thank you so much for stopping by for another episode. We're doing one more, and this was exclusive to Shelf Stories because we are talking about a very highly social game. A game that hasn't been in print in a while, I don't think, but like for whatever reason, it's captured the zeitgeist. There's always posts about this game. And I know my friend over here has thoughts about this game. He's blogged about this game. So I wanted to do a video show, put all my thoughts together about why I think the game Secret Hitler is hot garbage. Hot garbage. The hottest of garbage. And, so there's an instinct to say, oh, well, you're just being a negative Nancy. We should be playing difficult games. No, there's a way that Secret Hitler does it that makes it really, really hot garbage. But anyway, so I've invited Patrick Rael to spend a little bit more time with me to break that down. Welcome back, Patrick.
Hi, good to see you. Yeah, we had this conversation around this game a few years ago. Yes. I remember. It sounds like you haven't grown any more enamored of it.
And people talk about it more. It's one of those things. Like I think in our general culture, whenever we want to talk about like what's an evil thing, what's a bad thing? Well, Nazis, right? I think because we have our heroes and villain story in the culture, and I think Nazis have kind of occupied the space of the arch villain. Like they are our Magneto to our Professor X. They are our, if we imagine ourselves as like heroes, that's just the way it is.
At least Magneto had some, admirable qualities. Most villains have something in them that you admire. That's what makes for great villains. But there's nobody to admire who's associated with that game.
So this is where we start. This is where we start to get into why that game is so difficult. So let's just talk about Secret Hitler first. Talk about how Secret Hitler works, and then we can get it from there.
So Secret Hitler is a social deduction game in like many others. Comparative titles would be things like Coup, maybe, or other kinds of things. And one player is secretly Hitler. The setting is interwar Germany, and everyone are politicians of various parties, but one of you is trying to destroy the democracy that is the Weimar Republic, and that is the Secret Hitler. You're going to do this by trying to pass pieces of legislation, and in the way that players behave around that legislation, it's supposed to become possible to discern who is the Secret Hitler, and that's basically how the game goes, right? Does that seem fair?
Yeah, I mean, like basically the idea being that it's a liberal republic, and the most of the game is people passing liberal policies or passing fascist policies, but trying to that's the thing, that you pass policies. That's a round by round thing. And you if you are the fascist player, then you're trying to pass as many fascist laws as possible, but like kind of passing it off as, oh, that wasn't me, that was that person or whatever. And then there's one character who's a Hitler. And it's like the idea being that, you want to be the fascist that passes fascist policies enough to trigger a point where Hitler's like, oh, I'm Hitler. And everybody's like surprised, right? So that's kind of how it goes. Does that match up at all with the history?
No.
No. No.
The motif in social deduction games is the secret part of Secret Hitler. That's not how history went. Everyone knew who Hitler was from the beginning. From the Beer Hall Putsch in 1923 and the writing of Mein Kampf, it's pretty clear who this person was and what National Socialism was about and what they intended to do.
So, okay, wait, you mentioned not Mein Kampf, right? So Mein Kampf was written in 1925 or published in 1925, right? Way before all this happened. Right. So and he dictated it in jail after trying to pull off a very open coup against the current or the reigning at the time, Weimar officials.
And the way historians tend to think about that is the putsch, which is that coup attempt in 23, I believe it was. He sits in jail and he writes Mein Kampf. That sort of steers him away from that kind of direct action, sort of military coup thing, and says, okay, now I'm going to start trying to work through the institutions that exist. We have to remember Hitler was never elected to an office. He was named vice chancellor because he was the leader of his party, and it was his party that had won the most seats in the Reichstag. So he's never actually elected to that position. So I guess the game is sort of, it does hit that notion that you're trying to influence things from the inside in some way. but it's not remotely historical in the sense that there was never a sense that, Hitler was trying to disguise what National Socialism was about. It was quite the opposite, in fact.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. Right. So, okay. So that's how we broke it down. And we're history nerds, right? So it's like, what makes this different than just a bunch of history nerds kvetching about a game? Because we could sit here kvetching about a game the entire time. So like, we could leave it at that level. And I think we kind of left it at that level, maybe at the last conversation. And I want to kind of deepen. So like, why is this such a problem? And it goes to this whole idea of what you identified, the Magneto and Professor X thing. I think in our telling of ourselves as Americans, like we are the Professor X, and then our arch rival is Magneto, and like we're in this kind of like battle of wills and battle of cleverness, and can we out clever our antithesis or whatever it is, or we construct our enemy as somehow understandable within a liberal democratic mind frame. And like, but the way we defeat this thing is by, being clever and being, and just like sussing them out. Like it's a contest within the liberal democratic rules. Exactly. And if we just suss them out or if we declare war because that's within the liberal democratic things, then we could try maybe win. That's not what fascism is. That's not what Hitler was. That's not why Hitler won.
Yeah. If you were going to do a game about that, it would look like demagoguing the hell out of the German people. And look, you got to remember, fascism wasn't just in Germany. The fascist movement in France was extremely strong. Mm-hmm. There was fascism in Ireland and America and all over the place. This is the place where it just hit the hardest. But yeah, you would have somebody demagoguing to destroy faith in government, not to work through government. What they tried to do, manipulate government in a bad faith way. But they did. The only reason why they could be in government is because they demagogued everybody, appealing to anti-Semitism, all the other kind of nostalgic tropes that we have talked about in a previous session, to marshal people to support this authoritarian movement, which was about the destruction of democracy.
Right. I mean, imagine a game if like it was open Hitler, which is exactly what the thing was. Not secret Hitler, it's open Hitler. So it's like you're dealt a card. I'm Hitler, and your goal is to demagogue your way. To encourage enough popular support by passing these hateful laws and doing these hateful things, or like, influencing, like, getting the culture ready to accept these hateful laws. And like, you have the liberal government that is like, basically like appeasing and self-deluding. And, they're like, okay, well, he's not that bad. He's not that bad. He's not that bad, but not actually solving the problem, so
and you also have,
really boring. Mm-hmm.
You also have a very powerful left movement, a strong communist and socialist party in interwar Germany, who were literally fighting in the streets with the Nazis, and that's not evident at all in Secret Hitler. There's no opportunity or place for the entire left wing. All we get is these centrist liberals who are working through a broken system.
Right. So my main problem with Secret Hitler is that it makes Hitler too cute. Like it makes it too, it's like, plush Cthulhu, and Cthulhu, like, right. And so like, we're so used to in gaming spheres, like taking these quote unquote historical realities and like making them understandable, but like even going beyond that, making them, cute. And like, now we have a contest and everything. And I just feel like, it's almost like, you're in a schoolyard, you're facing a bully, and you're trying to beat the bully by making fun of him. And you're trying to make a bully by like, outwitting him somehow. And then he walks up and punches you in the face. It's like, I'm not playing this game. I'm not playing your game. I'm going to play the punch you in the face game. And I feel like games like Secret Hitler and cultural products that make fascism seem, like cute and like that actually weakens us as a culture. Like and that was Hannah Arendt's point. Like Hannah Arendt was a philosopher in the time period, and she's watching the slide towards totalitarianism, and her big critiques is about liberalism. And her big critiques is about, well, you like liberalism for whatever reason, and you could so speak to it more than I could, but it just doesn't have the stomach. It just doesn't have the guts to stand up to a true fascist uprising. And that's what I'm saying.
She's heavy. Tolerant society can tolerate everything but intolerance, right? An open society can tolerate any perspective other than the one that wants a closed society, or that demands a closed society on any, in any way possible. There's this almost domestication of Hitler. This desire, you see this throughout the culture, not just in Secret Hitler, this desire to kind of bring him in and use him in narratives in these ways that threaten to make him, as you say, a little bit more palatable.
Springtime for Hitler in Germany.
At the time, and Charlie Chaplin's Great Dictator is sometimes considered a failure because it didn't seem to appreciate or understand sufficiently the depth and nature of that evil. Of course, this is before 1945, and the nature of that evil had been fully exposed. But that's the problem in working with these things. So you can think of Tarantino in Inglourious Bastards, where there's a counterfactual ending where Hitler is actually killed. You can think of old things like Hogan's Heroes, which sort of brings all the Nazis into these kind of caricaturable figures who are ridiculous. These are really weird two-edged representations. On the one hand, they're trying to make fun of somebody who's trying to take themselves very, very seriously.
Satirize is fine. Like, I mean, we don't mind satire as a genre. Satire can be very disarming.
Exactly, but does it move into that space where it becomes possible to dissociate this character, this figure, from the actual historical reality? The Anti-Defamation League for years has put out statements saying, the Holocaust in no way, Nazism and Hitler in no way should be represented in entertainment forms, including games, right? And of course, we know in video games there's this terrible Nazi problem, starting with Wolfenstein and going all the way through. So there is desire in popular culture to use this figure for narrative purposes. It's just very difficult to do it responsibly.
And this is home for me as a person who's public and who's speaking my diversity stuff, and I get called woke and I get called whatever, and then I'll get the occasional neo-Nazi in my DMs, and then I'll get the occasional white supremacist, and so I maybe people won't buy this link, but for whatever reason it feels the same. The doubt that people have when I talk about the experiencing interaction with an actual neo-Nazi. Like people were like, oh, it's not that bad.
I believe it.
It's not that bad. It can't. And it's like, the skepticism that like, okay, what's what the other side is bringing, what the other side is willing to sacrifice, what they're willing to do to realize their vision of a hierarchical society with whites on top. Right. The level of seriousness, these people, Charlottesville was a thing. Like there are people out there in gaming that are ready to die for this. And when I say this, it's like, oh, you're exaggerating. Oh, you're good. It's not that bad. And I think a part of it is this, whatever you call Disneyfication, or like, just kind of like taking the edge off of these evil things. No. I mean, and I'll talk from direct experience in this one. It's like, we got a serious problem. And so I have a problem with cultural products that I see as contributing to downplaying this serious problem, this real problem that we have.
Yeah, these are it's like the water at the foundation of the bridge slowly wearing away the things that are holding up the pillars supporting the bridge, right? And if you look at the way National Socialism is portrayed in popular culture over the last couple decades, you can see this happening. It's, as the passing of the greatest generation happens, as right. Living memory of those years goes by, as young people are raised, often getting poorly educated, unfortunately, because of, a lot of policies designed to miseducate them or educate them, designed to take history out of K-12 classrooms. It's no surprise that all these other voices are coming in from the margins, slowly building up. There are more National Socialists in this country than there were 20 years ago. There are more Nazis, and they're more happy to be out in public than there were. I mean, really undeniable.
Mhm.
So to make a cultural product. So my problem, with Secret Hitler is the classic thing that is leveled on games, which is it's trivializing, right?
It's just a joke. I'm just joking. Don't be so serious about it, man.
Right. And that's like the game, for me, the game is too ambiguous about where it stands on that. It could have been possible. I wouldn't have agreed with it, but they could have done a kind of satirical take on Hitler, a campy kind of a take. I don't think that would have been a great taste choice, but it's possible. They could have used, nostalgia. That's another motif that is brought into games. There's ways they could have done it. What they did is it's almost flat. It's almost vanilla. It's very hard to discern from that game the game's stance towards Hitler, and that's problematic.
Well, I mean, it's I would say it's easy because because of the rethemes, right? You can retheme it to Secret Sith Lord. You can retheme it to Secret Voldemort. And so what their reading of Hitler is that, well, he was Voldemort and he was a Sith Lord. He was a bad guy masquerading until he could take power.
That's
and
right. Just another Magneto. He's just another supervillain. And we have the same narrative tropes that we always bring into these kinds of things. And the truth is that's not what he was at all. And that's not what National Socialism was at all. So, so here's a game. I mean, we're talking about Puerto Rico and the sort of sense, a game sense of itself, a game self-presentation. How aware is it of its own history? How much does it think about it? How much does it present that to players? For me, that is the problem with Secret Hitler. And I think it is playing with that ambiguity consciously and in bad faith. It's doing that because, so why would you do that? Why would you have a game that's ambivalently presenting the Nazis as, could be bad, could be good?
Right.
Why are you doing that? Because it sells units, right? Because it's the controversy that you generate around it is part of the thing that sells it. It could have totally have been Secret Voldemort or any of those other kinds of things, or some made up villain. They chose this one and they pushed this one and they got sales because of this one. They got attention because of this one.
And they're still getting it. Even though they're not like printing the game because it's so controversial, it's still attention getting. And there's still cultural cachet that can be drawn from we're the guys that made Secret Hitler.
That's a bad faith move as far as I'm concerned. I don't mind looking at any game that is presenting itself and explains itself fully. This one denies players that so that it can be controversial, so that it can get attention and sell units. I don't want to be bamboozled by playing a game. I don't want to buy a game and then find out that by accident, yo-ho, it turns out that I am having to present Hitler.
Right. So I do not recommend interacting with real neo-Nazis. I do not recommend it, especially in DMs, after I posted a video and they responded to the video. So I mean, that just it just puts a whole different spin on things. Eventually, I mean, this ended up being about a half hour. So like eventually I'm going to come up with like the 10-second pitch where I can just like, okay, boom. I'm still working on. So this is why I wanted you on, to help me distill this into something teachable. So yeah, I hope that people engage with it. I will definitely eager to engage with the comments. You are welcome to post this on your blog if you want to do comments in your place. Tell them about the blog, please.
This is Ludica Blog on Board Game Geek, Ludica. And if you just Google that and BGG, you will find me.
If you can change your mind, it changes the world, people. So until next time, later, everybody.
Thank you.